Hi, welcome to a new video of the visual brain. Today we will be talking about one of the most recognized allegories in the field of philosophy, and it is the allegory of the cave, also known as the myth of the cave. To understand this allegory, we must begin by talking about Socrates, who was born around the 5th century BC. He was the first philosopher to use a method in order to analyze knowledge and discover the truth. Socrates had a student named Plato, a Greek philosopher who lived in Athens in approximately 450 BC. Plato was a follower of the metaphysical school of thought popularized by his teacher, idealism. This approach states that knowledge is created by the person based on his senses, therefore his experiences. We can see an example of idealism in the movie Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, in which, thanks to a tear from Professor Snape, Harry manages to see memories that help him understand the personality and actions of said professor. With this new knowledge, Harry manages to expand his ideas about what was previously non-existent for him. After this brief explanation, we will delve into one of Plato's main works, the Allegory of the Cave. For Plato, the use of the allegory was more than anything a didactic tool, which served to teach how the world was divided. According to the philosopher, people become comfortable in their ignorance and can even oppose violently against those who try to help them change or see another reality. The allegory of the cave is presented by Plato in one of the dialogues of his work, The Republic. It can be seen as a metaphysical explanation of how to achieve knowledge and truth. Plato shows us that a method reflects how the person must act in order to understand that there is a reality apart from our everyday one, and that one must go a long way to reach it, and knowledge is the only way. The allegory is part of the Western philosophy, and is an allegory to put ideas of how life should work in the polis, that is to say, the independent cities of ancient Greece. The cave allegory tells us the following story. Plato describes a cave or cavern in which a group of men imprisoned since birth are found with chains that hold their neck and legs. They can only look towards the back wall without being able to turn their heads. Behind them there is a wall, a bonfire, and at the bottom of the cave, the exit to the outside. Behind the wall, men walk along holding all kinds of different objects, whose shadows from the light of the fire are projected on the wall. The prisoners, deprived of any other information, will consider these shadows as the only existing reality, since they have no knowledge of anything that happens behind their back, unless of the outside world that exists outside the cave. The story explains what happened when one of the prisoners broke free and the whole trick of the wall, the bonfire, and the objects were revealed to him, discovering that there is another reality that is deeper and more complex. Once outside, the prisoner gets to know the reality of the outside world, men, society, nature, all of the elements of the shadows that were projected on the wall of the cavern. And the prisoner is able to look directly at the sun, which symbolizes the beginning of everything. After that, the prisoner returns to the interior of the cavern to try to free the other prisoners, but when they hear the stories about another reality, they do not take him seriously and laugh at him, claiming that his eyes, accustomed to darkness, got damaged when he left the cave. The protagonist does not give up and struggles to convince them to break the chains and make them climb towards the light. But these, in their stubbornness, leave him aside and are capable of killing him if they had the opportunity, after hearing such falsehoods. The allegory of the cave is an introduction to the philosophical inquiry, a process of philosophy where questioning things and doubting your existing knowledge approaches to the truth. In other words, the allegory as a didactic tool is a basic exercise to achieve cognitive development and the construction of knowledge. Now that we know what the allegory of the cave is about, we can talk about some important concepts such as Plato's division of worlds. On one part, we have the sensible world, which refers to appearances, what we perceive through the senses, and is represented by the shadows of the cave that the prisoners saw. This can cause us to be wrong and have for truth something that is not. On the other hand, we have the intelligible world, which refers to pure knowledge, or what exists for real and is symbolized by the outside of the cave. On the same note, we can mention the sun and its light, which is a representation of the truth. To get to know the good, you have to evolve from the sensible world, leaving the ignorance of the cave and getting used to the light of the truth. The allegory makes us see that we should not settle with first appearances or what simply comes to us through the senses. It's our obligation to use science and education for a critical spirit, and go beyond that until discovering the truth of things and the reality that they keep. Plato also advised that we should help others to reach reality, even if they are reluctant at first. Influences of the allegory of the cave on literature, movies, and television. The main theme of the allegory, self-deception, is explored in various literary and cinematographic works throughout history. As for books, we can highlight the work of George Orwell, 1984, a political novel of dystopian fiction that presents us with a society where information is manipulated, and mass surveillance and political and social repression are practiced. Actions that perfectly illustrate the confinement in the cave. On the other hand, we have the work of Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. This novel takes place in a society of apparent perfection, where each human being is born with a purpose and a predefined place. Both the people in the cave and those in the novel ignore the reality of life and cannot escape its false reality. In the world of cinema, we can also find examples of stories similar to the allegory of the cave. One of the most striking examples is the 1998 movie The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey, who is an insurance agent who believes he leads a normal life but has no idea that there are cameras that record his life 24 hours. And that all his life is nothing more than a television show. Another example worthy of mention is the first Matrix movie from 1999. In this movie, the protagonist Neo discovers that the world he thought he lived in is nothing more than a virtual simulation, to which he is connected by a cable plugged into his brain. The billions of people who live connected around him are being cultivated in the same way in order to power the machines. This collective illusion is known as the Matrix. Finally, we can also mention some TV shows where the plots have parallels with the allegory. One of them is the 2016 HBO series Westworld, where the humanoid robots of a theme park become aware thanks to their advanced artificial intelligence and discover that their world is not real. However, not everything is mature content. We can also find examples of the allegory in children's TV shows, such as the case of the 2012 Disney series Gravity Falls, that tells the story of twins who discovered that the town where they went to spend their holidays was not what it seemed. Those are just some examples of the influence of the allegory. Surely you can mention some more. Leave it in the comments, and since you are there, please tell us. What message does the allegory leave you? And also, do you put into practice what Plato suggests? Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have found it useful. Please do not forget to leave a thumbs up if it was so, and also leave a comment with your opinion on the subject and what you can contribute. Finally, do not forget to share it and subscribe for more educational videos so we can continue learning together. See you in the next video!